In this session, we're going to be talking about public groups. What is public group? A public group in Salesforce is a collection of individual users, other groups, or roles that share a common need for access to a specific set of records, functionality, or information. So what we can do with public group is that we can use it in sharing roles. Previously, what we were doing is we were sharing a record with a single user, right? So we had a criteria-based sharing rules and order-based sharing rules. We were sharing one record with our one user, which is the test user, based on their role. And under that role, if we have only one user, the record would be shared only with that user. What if we want to share records with users from multiple different roles? In that scenario, what we can do is we can create a group of those users and share the record with that group, and everybody who is in that group will have access to that record. We can create a group, and in that group, we can have users. We can have one group inside another group, and we can include one role. We can also include roles inside that group, which means if we include the role, it's going to take all the users who share that same role. And we can also go with roles and subordinates, meaning if we pick one role and all the roles under that role will also be included. In the following scenario, we're going to demo this. So we want to share some records with a public group. The first step is, or the first prerequisite is, we have to create a public group. All right, so I'll go to setup, then home. In the home tab, in the quick find, I will type public groups. I don't have any public groups, so I'll go ahead and create one. So I have to give any name. Say, see. I'm going to be sharing account records with this, so I will say account public groups. Public group. So now it is asking me, who are the members of this group? In this drop-down, if you click this drop-down, you have multiple options to choose. If I have another group, I can include that group inside this group. I can also include roles. I could also include roles and subordinates. That means if I select this role, this role and all the roles under that role will be included, for example. If you go with roles, then you have an option to select single role or multiple role and add them and share the record with them. In our scenario, we're going to be using a single user. Okay, let's select users. So we're creating this group and we're going to be adding users inside this group. So let me go ahead and add the test user. And if you had other users, you could also include them. In our scenario, we have limited users in this dev org. That's why I can only include one of the user. Now, there are multiple ways I can add this test user in here. If I go by users, I could select a single user and add them. Also, if I go with roles, then in that scenario, what I have to do is I have to select the user's role and add them. Okay. Overall, they all have the same impact. You will be able to share the record with the user regardless of which option you go with, role or single user, roles or subordinate or public groups. I'm going to click save. So my group has been created now. In this group, we only have one user, but imagine that there are like dozens of users in this group. In reality, you would have dozens of users in this group. And then if I want to share my record with that group, I will be able to select that group and share my record. So in this scenario, what we're doing is we are setting a sharing rule to share accounts owned by the CEO role or the admin user role with the public group we just created. So, and also what I'm going to do is, since I'm setting this sharing rule on account records, I'm going to check my sharing settings. And if I have any sharing settings that are already configured for account, I'm going to deactivate them or delete them. Okay, so I have this one, I'm going to delete that. Okay, so currently account OWD is set to private. And if I compare my users' roles, my admin user role is higher in the hierarchy than the test user role. And if I check as a test user, we will see that our test user is not able to see any records, okay, except for his records. Now I need to give some access to our test user, and that's what we will do. We will set up a sharing rule. So again, we will go to sharing settings. The process is the same. In this scenario, instead of selecting a user, we will select that public group. Account sharing. And what is my criteria? What kind of rule type I need to select? I'm going to go with, based on this question, it is asking us records owned by the CEO needs to be shared with the other user. So it's, for that reason, I'm going to select this category, okay, based on record owner. And I'm going to say records owned by this role, which is CEO. It needs to be shared with, I have a couple options here. I'm going to keep this public group selected, and then I'm going to select this account public group. Okay. So, and also the same question is being asked over here, what kind of access I want to give with to account. Do we want them to be able to edit accounts? And also what kind of access you want to give to contract, opportunity, and cases. Okay, let's give them access, like write access for everything. All right, and then I'm going to save this. Click OK. Because my test user is inside that group, my test user will be able to see the account records. Right, let me go as a test user and refresh this tab. Now I can see the records, right? And if I remove that test user from that group, okay, then the user will lose access to those records. So I'm now removing the user and saving this, okay? And then I'll go as a test user and refresh. Now he lost that access. Even though we're sharing that record with that public group, because this test user is no longer there, he is losing that access. Okay, so I'm gonna add him back so that he can get the access back. So this is basically how we can share records with public groups. And we also have other scenarios. In this scenario, we went with the owner-based sharing criteria. We can also apply criteria-based sharing rule and also share same records with our test users, right? So let me go back to my sharing settings, okay? And here this is my previous sharing setting. And if you try to edit this, you cannot convert this owner-based sharing rule to criteria-based sharing rule. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cancel out from this and delete that sharing rule and then create a new one. So let's go ahead and delete that. And what I will do is I will create a new sharing rule. So now let's confirm our user do not have any access to account records except the account record that belongs to him. And what I will do is create a new sharing rule. Okay, let's do a refresh here. New. And account sharing. Instead of going with owner-based criteria, I'm going to go with criteria-based sharing rule instead of going owner-based sharing rule. And then I have to define my criteria. So in my requirement, it says accounts that are from North region and whose source is web needs to be shared with our test users, okay? So I'm going to select account region when that equals to North and account source equals to web, right? Those records needs to be shared with our test user. We have already one public group that's created, and I'm going to select that public group, and we know that our test user is inside that group now. And I'm going to keep this access as default and save this. We are sharing the account, right? We are sharing the account, but we're only giving the read access to our test user. Let's go to our accounts and then verify that we do have a couple accounts. We have one account whose region is North and source is web. Let me also update this one. Make the source, account source, web, and region North so that two account records can be shared with our test user. So I'm going to go ahead and check as a test user, do a refresh here. And those two accounts are visible here. Now, if I try to edit it, I'm not going to be able to edit the other user's account record because when I was sharing it, we only gave read access. Okay, you see we get this error message. Let's cancel out from here and check this account record. You don't see any opportunity or case because we did not share the related opportunities and cases with the test user. And I also want to mention a couple of things about this sharing setting logic. Let me go back here. And if you want, you can also customize this logic, right? In this scenario, we are saying if the account region is North and account source is web, both conditions need to be meeting in order for this record to be shared, to be able to share with the test user. But we could also change this requirement. We can say, share this record with the test user if the account region is North or the account source is web. In that scenario, if you have any account whose region is North or source is web, it will be shared. So instead of requiring two conditions, we can just require one condition. Okay. And then save this. Let's go ahead and change this to, and we're not sharing case, and save. Now the test user should be able to see more account records if we have accounts that meet that condition, okay? So for example, our test user in this scenario should be able to see this account record because the region is North. Even though it doesn't have the source defined here, the user still should be able to see this. And similarly for any other account that has region of North. And also if I make this account source, for example, let me go ahead and change the source to web. It has a different page layout, so it doesn't have that field. But if I can find other account and let me change its source to web, even though it doesn't have the region defined, our test user should still be able to see this. I'm going to go and check as our test user. Let's refresh this. So you see, I could see these two additional records now. And in this scenario, if I try to edit this, I should be able to edit the records now because we gave the edit access to the test user when we were sharing it. If I check the related records, this one doesn't have opportunities or cases related to it, it seems. But if I check the other one, this account has opportunity. We're not sharing case, that's why we don't see any case here, but we were sharing opportunity. We were also giving edit access to opportunity records. Let's go ahead and try to edit this and save. All right, everything is working as expected. But this is pretty much how we share with records with public groups. So this slide says that multiple sharing rules and then most permissive one wins. So it means if we have a multiple sharing rules and if one sharing rule gives read access and the other one gives edit access, then in that scenario, the user will end up having an edit access. For example, we are sharing account record now, right? We are sharing this account record. And then what we're doing is we are giving edit access to the account, right? If I create another sharing rule, and in that sharing rule, if I give read access to our user, then at the end, our user will end up having the edit access because we have another sharing rule here that allows the user to edit. Let's try and see that. So I'm going to create another sharing rule and I'm only giving a read access, right? In this scenario, what I will do is I'll go with, I'm going to go with criteria and I'll say share any account whose region is equal to North and whose account record type equals to financial, for example. Okay. And here, I'm going to give only read access to our user. And with whom I'm going to share it, I'm going to go with roles and subordinates. And which role I'm going to select? I'm going to select, let's say, this VP. Let me check my role so that I don't pick a wrong one. I'm going to go to my role hierarchies real quick. Expand all. My test user has this role. I'm going to pick this one now, director and director sales. Director sales. And I'm choosing this roles and subordinates option. In this scenario, will my test user get this access? Yes, if I choose roles and subordinates, and if I choose this role, basically it means all the users who have this role as well as any role below it will get that access, okay? Will get that access. So let's go back and set this account and contract access to read only. opportunity access to private, and case access to private. Actually, you know what? To see the net impact, I'm going to give read-write access to cases, okay? And then we will save it. In my previous sharing rule, okay, in my previous sharing rule, we were not sharing case access at all. See, this is based on my previous sharing rule. The user wasn't getting any access to case. That's why we see 0 here. But in this sharing rule, we are changing that. We're giving more access. So what will happen is our test user will end up having more access, which is edit access and read access to cases. Let's click save. We are exploring multiple different scenarios here. Previous scenarios, we didn't choose record type. We just chose fields. We didn't choose roles and subordinates. In this scenario, we're using that. And also we are giving more access in this. You see, we're giving more access to cases in this one, but not any access in the other one. So let's go ahead as a test user and see how this is going to work. Now, as you can see, the user got access to cases. And if you try to click on it and edit this and save, you can successfully save that. Why? Because even though this one does not give access to cases, this one does. And it gives the read access and edit access. All right. Even though this one does not give access to opportunity, we have another one, another sharing rule that gives read and write access to opportunity. And let's go ahead and test opportunity record and verify our user is still able to get access to opportunities or edit opportunities. Okay, let's change that to new customer and save. See, he still has that access. In this second sharing rule that we define, we are sharing only accounts with financial record types and whose region is north. So let me go to my account, find a couple account records whose record type is financial. Okay, financial. Let me add my record type field here so that I could quickly see which one is which record type and save it. So here I have financial. That's being shared with the users anyway. So I have this financial record type, and I'm going to change the region to north. Okay, region to north, so that it can be shared with my test user. All right. So this is Fin account. Let's go to the test user and see if he has the access. Fin account is here. Was it already being shared? Let me go to all accounts and see. Okay. Yeah. Now you can see multiple Fin accounts. He now has access to 6 records in total. All right. So we have 2 sharing rules. This one shares based on the account source or the account region. This one shares based on the record type and the account region. All right. That's how it works when we have multiple sharing rules working together. So that this sharing rules should not conflict with my future sharing rules, I'm going to clean them up. And we will start with brand new sharings for the other scenarios we have. Sharing rules are gone completely. That means our user won't be able to see those records anymore. So if I go to the test user profile and do a refresh, everything gets lost from here.